Welcome to Broadway Drumming 101. My guest today is Joe Nero. He's done, let me see, I'm looking at his website. Aladdin, American in Paris, Annie, Book of Mormon, Cabaret, Color Purple, Grease, La Cage, Leap of Faith with my man Raoul, Les Mis, Matilda, Next to Normal, my God, Bronx Tale, Cats, Hello Dolly, Band's Visit, Frozen, Spider-Man, you did that too, and South Pacific and Sister Act, Something Rotten. What haven't you done? Seriously, what haven't you done? Have you done Wicked?
Yeah, that's on there. Keep going, man.
Oh, damn.
I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding.
Welcome to the Broadway. Welcome to the Broadway Drumming 101 podcast. How are you doing today?
I'm good, Clayton.
Good.
Thanks for having me.
Good, man. I have many questions about all of these shows, but I guess I could start from the beginning. Let me guess, you were born and raised in Philadelphia?
I was born in Philadelphia, and I grew up like right over the river in South Jersey.
Camden?
Right next to Camden. Yeah.
Oh, my God, really?
Yeah.
That's the capital of New Jersey, right?
No, the capital's Newark, right? Oh, Trenton. Capital's Trenton.
Trenton,
yeah.
That's right. I'm thinking,
yeah.
Okay. Ah, all right. Well, let me ask you a question about South New Jersey and Philadelphia area. Are you a meat eater?
Yeah.
Do you like their cheesesteaks?
I did, yeah.
Do you have a favorite cheesesteak?
Maybe we used to go to Pat's.
Okay.
Yeah, but the place to go is Tony Luke's, and you don't get a cheesesteak there. You get a chicken cutlet sandwich with broccoli rabe and sharp provolone.
What?
Yeah.
Really?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. That's
That's good information to know. I never knew that.
Yeah.
Now,
The cheesesteak.
Why not their
the cheesesteak? You know, I mean, you eat it and it feels good in your mouth, and then you regret it about 3 minutes later. But the chicken cutlet supreme, you won't regret that. So that's the way to go.
So chicken cutlet supreme with broccoli rabe and what?
And sharp provolone.
Wow.
Yeah.
I went there one time a long time ago, and I got their cheesesteak, and it's like this big. I mean, it's massive. And like you said, it's like, man, it tastes good going down, but it's like, oh, man, you're walking all slow.
Yeah, why did I do that?
Yeah, exactly.
Why did I do that?
So you grew up in South Philly. What was the first thing that
South Jersey.
South Jersey. I'm sorry, South Jersey.
Yeah.
What was the thing that made you want to play drums?
My father is a drummer and a drum teacher. Yeah. And he got me into it.
So what did he do? He said, boy, you better play this. Like, why not like tuba or oboe or something like that? Why drums? I mean, was it just some people tend to follow in the footsteps of their parents, and some people just go in a different direction. Was it just something that you said, this is so exciting, he's really good at it? Or did he like push it for you to try to emulate?
No, there was no pushing for sure. No, I always wanted to do that. I remember there was a VHS tape of my dad playing on TV with a big band. I must have watched it like thousands of times. I still remember the sound of the songs. Yeah. And I just always wanted to do that.
You started taking lessons from him, or did you take lessons from somebody else?
Yeah, it was lessons with him, I guess. Not very formal. And then I had like piano lessons, and piano lessons were the only other real lessons from another teacher I ever had. Yeah.
Did you play in junior high and high school concert bands, marching bands, jazz bands?
Yeah, everything. And then there was like the All South Jersey band. I did that. And then there was the All State band, and I did that. And then there was the All Eastern. I like kind of the East Coast, I guess. I did that. And there was a Mid-Atlantic Grammy band thing, which was like Pennsylvania, Jersey, and just that area. And I did that. It was a Philadelphia Youth Orchestra. I did that. Oh, there was a Garden State Pops Garden State Pops Youth Orchestra. I did that when I was like 12. So there was music all the time and like auditions all the time. And I was always preparing, for these auditions for all these different things. And yeah, that's what.
Did you always want to
kept me
be
going.
a musician, or did you have any other
I
kind of?
did, yeah.
Did you
No, I had no other interests.
did you did you want to be play on Broadway, or did you want to like play other styles of music? Was it specifically Broadway that you wanted to do, or was there any other kind of things that piqued your interest?
I I I was always interested in doing the theater. My father did the theater in Philly since the 70s, and then his brother-in-law. So it was like my mom and her sister married two musicians. So my uncle was a trumpet player in the theater too, and he was also my band director at the high school where I went, and they were playing the theater all the time. So that was a big part of my growing up.
Oh,
But I
oh,
always knew that I would go to New York. That was my thing. Like, I'm gonna not do Philly. I'm gonna go to New York and be like, I don't know, a session guy or something. Like, play all kinds of music in New York. That was the goal always.
no, why not L.A. or Nashville?
Uh, everybody. I mean, everybody that I grew up with was talking about New York. That was the place to go. I mean, I was into jazz too. I used to hang out at this jazz club in Philly like every night, and even those guys were like, if you want to do this, you got to go to New York. That's where it's happening.
Wow.
So yeah, that was always in my sights.
Tell me, some other drummers have told me about these all-state bands. I never
Yeah.
really did that kind of thing. How does that work? Do you have to audition for these things, and then you go around playing in different places?
Yeah, it was like I mean, I can't remember. Like at some point they would tell you what the pieces were that you were going to be auditioning with, and you'd buy the piece and learn it, and then a couple months later they'd have this big audition, and you're in this cafeteria at some school, and there's like 100 kids there, and everybody's playing, and then you'd wait in line and go in and audition all by yourself. It was like a blind audition, and you see the teachers like with their backs to you, and you do your thing, and then that same evening you're sitting in the cafeteria and they'd read off the names of the kids that were in the band. Yeah. And then a couple months later you'd go to like whatever it was, like 5 rehearsals, and then do a big concert. So yeah, it was really cool. It was really fun.
Did you ever get a situation where they were reading off the names and your name wasn't on it?
uh no, but there one time there was like in the jazz band thing, there was like a junior band and a senior band, and I guess I was right in the middle age, and all my friends made the senior band and I made the junior band, and I was like, ah, damn it. Yeah, but otherwise I always seem to get in there. Yeah.
So you graduated from high school, and did you decide to go to music school after that?
Yeah, I had a really I worked my ass off on a classical audition, and I learned like had all this 4 mallet marimba stuff prepared, and a couple like I knew like a timpani concerto and all this snare drum, and so I did all these classical auditions, and then I auditioned for the jazz program at Manhattan School of Music, and I don't know. I really wanted to go to Manhattan School of Music, and I got in on jazz. And actually, I think I got in on classical too. But I went for jazz drums, and that's what I ended up doing. Yeah, Manhattan School for Jazz Drums.
Man, you
It was weird because I spent all my time on all this classical music, and then I didn't end up. Yeah, it just worked out that way, thankfully, because I'm glad it worked out the way it did.
Would you ever would you ever go back and do the classical thing? I know you've done Broadway for so many years, but have you ever thought about doing the whole classical percussion thing, or is that just out of the?
It's not for me. I still I do a couple. I'll do classical gigs. I've done stuff in the city before, and I play percussion on some of these shows, but I would much rather play drums. That's what I really want to be doing.
You went to Manhattan School of Music, and you've been here ever since. And did you decide to? What was your interest? Like, what piqued your interest in trying to play Broadway shows?
I mean, when I was there was a community theater in my town, and when I was about 12, they were looking for a drummer, and I started working there. And they did like 5 or 6 little runs of shows per year, and I did that every year until I left that town. So I just been doing theater for since I was like a little kid. Yeah. And they even let me like music direct some of the things. I got all my friends to come in and play, and yeah, it was great. So by the time I got to New York, I had done, I don't know, like 50 or 60 different productions of things.
Wow.
Just at that place. Yeah. And then my dad knew a couple people that were working on Broadway. Like he played the first national tour of Les Mis, came to Philly and sat there for a long time. Like it was at least 6 months or something. And Bill Lanham was the drummer. And that must have been 1989, I think, maybe. So I was 6 years old, and Bill Lanham came to my house and had dinner with us. And so I know Bill from all the way back then.
Wow.
And then when I got to New York, he was still doing Les Mis, and I called him. This is the original Les Mis, So I called Bill, and I sat in the pit with him, and I thought it was so cool. He had just like, I don't know if you ever saw that or know what that book entails, but it's just like an army of drums around him for a little, a young drummer. It's like, wow, look at all this stuff. Yeah.
I was intimidated when I saw him play. I'm like, holy shit, I can't do this thing. I can't.
Did you see him do it? Yeah. There's a lot of drums.
Yeah, it was a lot. And he was playing this really difficult passages from time to time. I was like, you know what? I quit. I'll never be a Broadway drummer. Was that the first show that you worked on in New York City?
No. You mean like a Broadway thing?
Yes.
The first one I did was the Martin Short show, and I played percussion. That was in 2006, I think. And I subbed for Ed Shea.
And how did you meet him?
Yeah. Actually, he went to high school with my dad. And I did take some lessons with him when I was in high school. Yeah. That was really, really fun. And Martin Short was really, really funny.
How long did that last?
I don't know. Maybe like a year and a half or something. I don't remember doing it all that many times. Yeah. But yeah, that was a fun one.
How did you prepare for that? Were you intimidated by the whole thing? It's like, I'm playing a Broadway show, or were you confident in your abilities?
Yeah. No, I was terrified. I was terrified. There was some pretty serious vibraphone parts that I just played thousands of times before I went there. And then I ended up making a big mistake on like the easiest thing, which happens a lot. You stress so hard about the hard stuff, and then you miss like, wait for the cue and then hit the bells, Yeah.
So looking back, what would you have done differently? Would you, as far as preparing for your first show, if you could give advice to someone, say, they moved to New York City, what advice would you give to them for someone that's playing their first show as a sub on Broadway?
The main thing is watching the conductor, I'd say, and knowing when to come in. I think once the music starts, that's kind of the easy part. And I think you should, you have to know the parts, of course. You can't make any mistakes. They're counting on you to play it right. So, but my thing, especially lately, is anytime you got to play, you have to know what's happening on stage before I come in. Like, am I going to hear a line and then play or not? Or every single entrance should be crystal clear in your head. What is happening before I start? Yeah. I think that's the biggest hurdle. It's the getting into it. Yeah.
When you finished the Martin Short run, I mean, I know you were subbing. Did you get offers for other shows, or how did you wind up working your way?
Yeah, actually, I didn't. That was kind of a dead end. I ended up, what happened? They were looking for a drummer for the Dirty Rotten Scoundrels tour. Do you remember when that was going on?
Not really, but I remember when the show was out.
Okay. And yeah, they were looking for a drummer. I spoke to Howie Joins several times on the phone, and then I didn't get it. I remember I thought I got it and I was freaking out, and then I didn't get it. And I was really disappointed. But from there, he put me on a bunch of nymph shows, right at the beginning of Nymph. It might have even been the first or second year they even did that thing.
For those that don't know, explain what Nymph is.
So it's New York Musical Theater Festival, and they do it every year. I'm assuming it's still happening. Is it?
I'm not even sure. I haven't heard of it in a couple of years, but
since the pandemic, yeah.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. But so all these new shows would it would be like a brand new show, and you go do maybe I think 15 performances of it. And in the very beginning there, I remember it just being piano and drums on stage, very quiet. And now they're kind of building it up. They have a sound department usually. And so I don't know. I think I did 3 or 4 different ones that first year, because Howie got me on all these things, and that kind of opened the door. And then I subbed for John Clancy on Grease, on drums, and that was the first drum chair I did. Yeah, and I actually played. He was working on Spider-Man, years and years ahead of when the actual production. It might have been 5 or 6 years ahead of when it actually went to Broadway. So he was playing Grease, but he's working on Spider-Man, and he had to miss a whole bunch of cast rehearsals. And so I filled in on a bunch of cast rehearsals for him. And then I ended up subbing there. Yeah.
Now, where'd you meet John?
That was through Howie Joins.
Okay.
All because I didn't get that tour. It went, yeah. So I guess you never know why things happen the way they do, Yeah.
So there's usually somebody that brings you in to the whole theater thing, and then once you meet certain people, word gets around, or they recommend you for a bunch of different things, and it really helps you get your foot in the door and get established in the scene, especially if you can do the right thing and follow the conductor and take notes and do what's necessary in order to keep your job. So you started working for John at Grease. That led to other opportunities to sub. Do you remember what was the next thing after that?
the next one I did was South Pacific for Bill Lanham. Yeah, I think I came in very late in the run. That was amazing. It was a huge orchestra. I don't know if it was 40 or I guess it was like 40 people at Lincoln Center, and the pit was uncovered. You were just kind of there, or maybe it covered and then it would uncover at certain moments, and you were like a big part of the show. And it was a lot of timpani and like lighter drumming. But yeah, he needed somebody that could, do both worlds there, drums and percussion. Yeah, so I did that.
Do you find yourself more comfortable playing drums or percussion, or do you feel comfortable in both worlds?
Probably drums. Yeah, drums more comfortable, I think.
You think?
If I had to like go on stage with the New York Philharmonic and play percussion, I don't think I could hang. But yeah, but if they were doing like, Guys and Dolls or something, I could hang on that on percussion. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
But if it's like Mahler, I'm just like, well, I don't do this. This is crazy. Yeah. No. I'll tell you who to call.
Speaking of, you said you feel more comfortable on drums. Who were some of your drumming influences growing up?
My favorite drummer is Sonny Payne. Sonny Payne was a drummer with the Count Basie band, like in the 60s. And then I got familiar with him from when the Basie band played with Frank Sinatra. He was the drummer. So if you've ever heard Sinatra at the Sands, which is like super classic album, he's playing drums, just crushing.
Really?
Yeah, it's great. And Quincy Jones is conducting the orchestra and did the arrangements.
Oh, wow.
So yeah, classic album. Yeah. And then I was super into Steve Gadd and Dave Weckl and
who's Steve Gadd again? I'm just kidding.
And then there was all these jazz guys. I was really into Bill Stewart for a stretch there. Steve Jordan is like one of my all-time favorites. Those guys on all the Motown records. Yeah, I love it. Benny Benjamin and let's see who else. I'm a Ringo fan. I think Ringo gets a bad rap. But have you heard some of those alternate takes, like Sgt. Pepper, like alternate takes that were never used? You'd mistake him for Steve Jordan or somebody like that. He's just crushing. It's killing. Yeah, it's so good.
Really,
yeah.
I got to check that out.
Yeah,
he's definitely. Do you think he's underrated?
I just think he gets a bad rap.
Okay.
Yeah. I don't think he gets the credit like that he deserves. I don't know.
Yeah, even watching him play that stuff during those get back sessions and just, kind of being laid back and having the towels on his drums and just playing kind of the right things, and even playing something musical like The Long and Winding Road. I think there's a part where he's just playing on the bell of the cymbal during some parts, and it's just very creative to me, and I definitely have a newfound appreciation for his contributions.
I agree. Yeah, it was always the right part. The part was perfect, and often very like nobody else would think to do that. It's like, how do you think to play that? Yeah,
right.
I thought it was really cool. Yeah,
Ringo, Sonny Payne, Steve Gadd, Steve Jordan.
Vinnie Colaiuta was a big one for me.
Yes.
Yeah, I transcribed a lot of Vinnie stuff when I was in college.
Wow.
Yeah, try to get inside. It's good. He's a mad genius, that guy.
Yes, he is. Did they make you transcribe a lot of things like that in college, in music school?
I was with John Riley at the Manhattan School, and every year we would do a transcription day. And so all the people he was teaching, and at the time I was there with some super heavy dudes. Obed Calvert was there. Joe Saylor, who's on the Colbert Report. He was there. Kim Thompson was there. She was, you know, Kim, she was touring with Beyonce for a while. Lee Pearson was there. Henry Cole was there. It was like, oh, Justin Brown was there. Marcus Gilmore was, he was there. We were all there at the same time. So we're all in this room and we've all done transcriptions and we would play them for each other.
Wow.
Yeah, it was really, really intimidating and like super high level drumming just to be there with those dudes playing this stuff.
That's great. That pushes you to excel. That's great.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Well, speaking of pushing yourself to excel, you're subbing on Broadway shows and you have to get it right. Like you said, you have to follow the conductor and the pressure is on. What's something that, in your experience, since you've done so many different shows, what's something that a drummer should never do when subbing on a Broadway show?
I wouldn't try to bring your own thing to it. I think that's a big one. Don't step out of the paint inside the lines. Don't know your role. Don't step out of the what's expected. You know what I mean? They're expecting you to sit down and sound like the guy that was there all the time. So I wouldn't go there and try to play your own hot licks you worked out or something, because that's like an immediate X. Yeah, that's probably the biggest one. And don't make any mistakes. You just can't. They're counting on you to not make any mistakes. So don't make any. Yeah.
Well, okay, it's flip side. What's something that a drummer should always do?
Watch the conductor. I would say don't play a note without looking at the conductor.
So do you memorize the shows that you do, or do you just internalize it but are also having your face on the music but one eye on the conductor?
Yeah, it's that. I don't memorize unless I have to memorize, which is, you know, there's times where my learning process, I think, is kind of like troubleshooting. I go through the music and I'm looking for like, okay, this is a 7-bar phrase. I might mess this up, so I have to pay attention to that. And then like, oh, this section here, I'm going to be like looking over here to hit this cymbal. So I should probably like memorize these couple bars so I don't have to look at the music while I'm doing this. Or, you know, oh, there's like a big tempo change here. I'm going to have to stare at the conductor, so I should memorize this little section. Yeah, so when I get music for a show, I'm scanning through like what's going to be a problem, you know, and that's what I really focus on. If it's just, you know, if it's just a 2-beat with no tempo changes for like 8 pages, it's like, well, I think I got this one. I'm not going to stress about this one. Yeah.
What do you find in all of your years of playing shows? What was the thing that was the biggest mistake that you've made?
I've had a couple of good ones where you like, boom, and you hit it and no one else is playing. Have you ever done that?
Yes,
it's liberating. Yeah, it's liberating.
Oh, it was on Cats.
You're just like, yes, not gonna get any worse than that.
Oh my God, I was so embarrassed. It was some song in Cats. I don't know why I played it, but man, I hit that thing. I was like, I thought I was, you know,
strong and wrong.
Exactly. It's like, man, I'm a rock star. No, this is not rock music.
Yeah.
I was embarrassed.
Yeah, you got to know the conducting. Like, what is he going to be doing up there? Because that's when I've stepped in the holes, when, you know, I misinterpret a cue or something, or he does that and that's not for me or whatever.
Yes. Oh wow.
Get with that conductor video, you know, get with that video and you just keep watching it.
Also knowing a conductor style too. Like you know, there are different types of conductors that I've dealt with, and when you're dealing with somebody that's more symphonic, they have a certain way of moving their hand and the downbeat might be on the way up as opposed to on the way down. And it's definitely something to make sure you pay attention to. Now you've done, again, I'm looking at your father's thing, but tell me about, all of these shows that you've done, from Les Mis to Martin Short to Matilda, Next to Normal, Nice Work If You Can Get It, Should Have Been You, Sister Act, Wicked. What's the most difficult show that you've done?
They're all, they're all hard, and thinking Wicked is a hard one, because it's a big group. I think there's 27 people. There's no click track, or there's very little click track. There's tempo changes constantly. I'm talking like, 4 bars, and next 4 bars a little faster, and then this is a little slower, and the second verse is gonna be a little slower than the first. It's a lot, and they're counting on the drummer to lead the band of 27 guys. At least that's how it always felt to me. That's a hard one for that reason. What else? I play percussion on Aladdin. There's a lot of running from one instrument to the next, like literally run to the xylophone and play something hard. That's difficult for that reason. Let me see. Some of these shows that are all click track from start to finish, that's a whole different game of like, I don't know. I feel like now you're it's like, how well do you play with the click track? Now we're going to see like who can really play with the click track. So you got to be able to do that. So that's a different headspace. I remember Next to Normal being really hard there was really fast, you're like rocking out, and then really fast pick up the bell mallets and like play a solo over here. And that was very stressful. And that was like you got to be thinking ahead, like, okay, I'm wailing, but I got this thing coming, and I have it memorized what it's going to be, because I can't look at the music and the conductor and the bells at the same time. That was really hard. Yeah.
Wow.
Les Mis was really hard there was a lot of stuff where the conductor would be like, bing, and then you hit the bells, and it's like, okay, I can relax, like. And there's a weird groupthink mentality, and I think in the pit, like if you could just like get on the same wavelength as everybody else that's there every night and just relax, it's like bing, and then you'll hit it. But if you like had 3 coffees and you go into play and you're stressed, it's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. Practicing. I think everyone should practice with a metronome, and I've been doing that for as long as I can remember. And then as I've gotten older, my perspective on how to actually play with a band has sort of, I guess, matured. Yeah. If it's working right and everybody's playing with it, you're not going to hear it so much, first of all, and you're not going to think about it so much either. It's just kind of there going, and you're playing, and everything's fine. Yeah. If you're like struggling to catch up to this click, it's a problem. Something's not working right. Yeah. That's like that old joke. It always speeds up at the hard parts and slows down at the easy parts. Yeah.
You've met so many different musicians. Just looking at this list of shows, from Jared Schoenig to Bill Lanham to Damian Bassman to John Redsicker, I'm sure. Did you sub for him at Aladdin?
I haven't, but I play percussion with him whenever I'm there. Yes, so I know John. Yeah.
Was Paul Pizzuti? Who was on La Cage?
I've played with Paul. La Cage was Sean McDaniel.
Sean McDaniel.
Yeah.
Howie was on Matilda.
Yeah.
Matt Vanderend, Bill Lanham,
Yeah.
Bronx Tale. I forgot who was on that.
That's Perry Cavari.
Yes.
He's great. Yeah. You got to get him on here, man.
Yeah, I gotta
He's the
actually.
best. He's the best.
I gotta reach out to him. I haven't actually had too many conversations with him, but yeah, he's definitely been around for a long time. So all these different drummers, Broadway legends like yourself, how did you go around? How did you go about meeting all these people?
When I met Sean McDaniel, he needed. We didn't know each other. I think he heard about me somehow. I was doing South Pacific for Bill Lanham, and I think Sean needed another sub for Lacage. That's what it was. And yeah, it was high. It was kind of a high stress. The conductor was demanding. It was like a high stress situation. Yeah, you were like in this little area, like right up against the conductor, playing a lot of drums, and he wanted it soft and precise, and it's and he conducted every beat. I mean, like every beat of every song was where he wanted it. It was a high stress thing. Um, so Sean gave me a shot, and the conductor liked me, and that once I did that, like I started meeting all these people. Sean started telling like, oh, I got this guy, he did a good job, and I started to go into a bunch of things. Yeah, that got the ball rolling. Yeah,
Your name got around, and you eventually had your own show at one time, correct?
I did that. Yeah, that the conductor from Lacage hired me to play percussion for Annie. I had did 2 years. Yeah, and then I've had a couple off Broadway things too, but I haven't had the drum chair yet on Broadway.
What were the off Broadway shows that you had?
I did a show called Adrift in Macau. I did a show called Invisible Thread. Uh, I did. I guess that's really it. Yeah, that's all I got so far. In New York. Yeah, I did like a couple things in San Diego. I did the first Wives Club out there. Um, there was a show called
Wait.
Sleeping Beauty Wakes that I did out there.
You
Yeah.
did
What?
first Wives Club.
Oh, you did it too, right?
Yeah.
I did it the first time. I did it the first time, like back
Oh,
in
really?
2007, maybe. Yeah.
Yeah, they tried to fix it in Chicago, but it
Yeah.
never really got fixed.
Unfixable.
Did you ever do any Broadway tours?
uh, no, no, I never wanted to. Yeah, I turned down a bunch of tours, to be honest. I always wanted to stay in town. Yeah. I've covered tours, like go out for a couple weeks and come back, but I always wanted to stay in town. And when, yeah, I've also always felt like it's like, oh, okay, I'm subbing on 10 different shows in town. This has taken me like how many hours do you think go into getting 10 shows ready to go, and like I might as well just stay in town and do this. So yeah, I don't know. I, that's been my I just keep doing that.
No, I hear
Yeah.
you. I hear you. So right now you're subbing on 10 different shows?
uh I think I got 8 and 2 more on the docket. I don't know, what do you call it. I
Really?
got a stack
Wow.
of I got a stack of music I got to learn. Yeah.
That's amazing, man. When I interviewed Sean McDaniel, I can't remember how many he said he was doing at one time, but it was a lot. A couple more than you. And then
Yeah, he might have had a dozen, I think, or 13, he
yeah,
likes to
12 or
say.
13, and then Joe Horashevsky told me he did very similar things as you, and had so many shows at one time. I'm like, man, me doing two, and I was like, my brain was going to explode. I'm like, man, it's a lot of stuff to keep in your head. So how do you keep all of that music, uh, you know, I guess in your brain, and how do you? I guess it's at this point you're not stressing too much about doing it. So is it easier to just go from show to show? Like, how do you manage all that stuff?
For me, it's all about the charts, like learning. It's like learning the music from the chart and how and if I, you have to learn it the right way the first time, because it sounds weird, but if like you learn it the wrong way at the beginning, it's hard to break out of that. And um, I just I just had an experience going back to some of these shows after the pandemic. Like, okay, I haven't played this in 2.5 years, and I'm thinking like, oh man, I don't remember these songs. I don't even like I can't think of a single song that's in this show. And then I opened up the music. I'm looking at the drum charts, and I like, oh yeah, I hear it in my head going. So it's something about looking at the charts that cues my memory of what it's going to be. And yeah, and it's when I go there, it feels like I just did it, even if it was like a couple of weeks or something. Yeah. Also, I find it very traumatic, so I think it's like a traumatic experience that you're never going to forget.
Do you still get nervous going into shows now?
Yeah, yeah.
I hear you. Subbing is not easy.
Man.
Subbing is not.
No.
Let me just say it again.
It's that
Subbing
first.
is not easy.
It's that first and the first time is the most stressful. The second time you're less stressed but more prone to make a mistake. Don't ever forget that. So you don't let your guard down until you've done it like 4 times or something. Yeah. The second one is where I'm like, that's like the inner turmoil of like, oh man, I know I'm going to do something wrong. It's like, oh man, I know it's coming.
And that's when you hit the cymbal when no one else is doing it.
Right.
You get the first one done, and everybody's like, "Man, great job, great job!" And you come back, "Yeah, I got this.
Right.
No, you don't.
No, you don't got it. You don't got it yet.
Yeah, you gotta always stay on your toes. You played with many different people outside of theater. I can't remember the name. There's a pianist that you worked with for many, many years. I know you worked with many different pianists, but I forgot the name of the artist that.
Yeah, I tour with this guy named Peter Cincotti.
That's it.
Yeah, and he has a new record coming out that I did the drums over the pandemic for his new album, and we're going to be touring with the new music soon. So I'm excited about that. Yeah. Have
you played on many of his other albums?
This was the first album I've played on. Yeah. It was a cool experience. He has a list of heavy hitter drummers on his previous albums. So I was intimidated and honored at the same time.
That's cool, yeah. Man. When are you going out?
We have some California dates in May or April. There's a show in New York in April. He's got some Asia stuff in May that I'm excited about.
What part of Asia?
And definitely going to Korea, and I'm hoping possibly Japan as well. I don't know, maybe I'm not supposed to say that, but that would, yeah, that's going to be fun. I haven't been to Japan yet.
Yeah, me neither. I hear it's great.
Me too.
Doing shows, has that led to you getting any kind of endorsements?
No. Just leave it at that. No.
And thank you very much, Bryan.
Yeah. But if Vic Firth is watching, I'm available, you know.
Yamaha, Remo, anyone?
Yeah. Hello?
Well, you play with Peter Cincotti. Has that helped in any way with any endorsements?
No. No, I don't have any yet, but I'm working on it.
All right, we gotta work on your website and endorsements. We'll get that handled. I was gonna ask you, where can people find you? JoeNeroDrums.com or JoeNero.com?
Just joenero.com. Yeah. And then my Instagram is Joe Nero Drums. Yeah. But yeah, I need a new social media team, to be honest.
You're too busy subbing, man. You got too much stuff on your plate. Are you working on any projects of your own right now? Any musical projects?
Nah, nothing to speak of. But I have a space where I record drums, so I'm in there often recording tracks for people and teaching and stuff. So
that's great.
Yeah.
For those who are interested, I kind of asked this before. I'm going to ask it again. For those that are interested in doing what you do for a living, what advice would you give to them?
Just keep practicing, keep studying. Yeah, look, like if whatever kind of music that you gravitate towards, go down the rabbit hole. Like, where did this come from? Who did it? You know, how did we get to this? There's always there's a history behind all the musics, and whichever one is yours, I think you should dig into the history and keep practicing. Yeah. And then if you're really a great player, people are going to hear about you. At least that's what, yeah.
That's what happened to you.
That's what we used to say. Oh, thanks. Thank you.
Your name, your name gets around, and I remember hearing about you years ago. We've never actually had a chance to work together, not yet at least. And hopefully in the near future, you will have your own show. Then the endorsements will come, and and you'd be like, Clayton, I need you to sub. And I'd be like, okay, finally. But I wish you well, and you're going to be working on these 2 new shows and doing this Peter Cincotti tour, and you got your hands full. I'm glad to see that you're working, and it's always a good thing when people are employed, and thankful that you're a part of this podcast. You had a lot of interesting things to say, and sharing your insight as far as subbing is very, very, very interesting to me, because when I started to sub, I just realized it was something that is definitely a special skill, and not everyone can do it very well. And you've been clearly doing it better than most people, because you have so many different shows, like you said, on your docket.
Oh, thanks. Thank you.
Well, anyway, man, I appreciate you taking time out, and it was nice chatting with you. Nice finally seeing you in person. And I'm sure we'll probably see each other walking around Times Square on our way to different shows.
Awesome.
All right. Thanks again, man. And,
all right. Be well.
Ladies and gentlemen, Joe Nero on the Broadway Drumming 101 podcast. Talk to you soon.
All right. Bye.